All right, and we're live. Thanks everyone for attending, and thanks and just welcoming everyone to the ranking stream. Today we have a very special guest, Nick Eubanks. Nick, thank you for attending. Appreciate it, man. Where are you calling from?
Oh man, my pleasure. I'm calling from my home in Miami, Florida.
Right on. All right, man. Well, I only assume it's beautiful out there, as most coastal places
It's
are.
a balmy 80 degrees right now, but it is very nice and sunny out
Oh, look
here,
at
which
that.
is it's
What
not
a
horrible.
view. That's not a
So
horrible view at all, man. No, I would show you mine, but it's just a backyard in suburbia in Austin, man. So it's not sexy at all. So no one wants to see that.
yeah.
Well, hey, man, I appreciate it. I want to set the tone really quickly, just for everyone who's new, anyone who's new to the ranking stream. We interview experts and tool builders, anyone in the SEO space who's looking to create some great product, build some efficiencies in terms of how SEOs perform on a day-to-day basis, whether you're a new SEO or you're experienced. It doesn't really matter. We have experts and great tools for you to help kind of speed up the process and help you get the growth and results that you're going after. So today we're talking, as I mentioned, with Nick, and Nick is I'm really fascinated just kind of about, I did a little bit of research about your background, but I'll let you kind of give us a good understanding of who you are and your background and just kind of things you're working on at this point. I know there's a lot of products that we want to jump into from your website especially directly, but definitely set the tone, man. Give us a little bit
Cool, man.
of information about your background.
So yes, I'm one of the co-founders and general partners at Super Limited. It's a venture studio focused on buying, building, and operating digital assets across a pretty wide range of industries. There are a few service businesses that have gotten sort of woven in there over the years. The longest sort of standing, biggest one is From the Future, which is like a full funnel performance marketing agency. There is a wellness center actually based in Philadelphia that is a physical location, not a digital asset. But we've used some digital assets, guides, downloads, content upgrades, and things like that to grow that audience. Digitally expand it outside of just the physical presence. And then there's a handful of other stuff that all sort of plays mostly in the digital marketing space. So like there's a Slack community called Traffic Think Tank.
It's a great community too, by the way.
Service. Thanks, man. Got an outreach service called Launchpad PR that's started mainly as link building, but it's sort of shifted to helping folks launch affiliate programs. So like actually running the outreach to build and launch native affiliate programs for companies of all kinds, as well as links and PR. And then because of the sort of big investment in link building between the digital marketing agency and the outreach service company and some of the training that we've also done as part of that, I've ended up building a link prospecting, qualification, relationship management sort of database tool. It's sort of like a CRM for link building that I want to talk about at some point here a little bit more. And then there's just random stuff like affiliate sites, content sites, lead gen sites across all sorts of verticals from I had one in medical malpractice. I had a physical product e-commerce business that was men's undershirts and underwear called Underfit that I just got out of last year. I had a site in the American compliance, government space that I got out of last year as well. An affiliate site, still have an affiliate site. One main affiliate site right now, which is in the pet space, and then a couple other ones that are early on. Digital products. I've done a bunch in the SEO space over the years as part of having an SEO blog that I sold in 2014. And just a tremendous amount of domains that I still own and juggle.
Man, that's okay. This is the reason why I was super fascinated with you, because you got a long tail of product that's kind of brewing on the back end. How do you kind of manage? Do you have a team or portfolio company? Obviously, you mentioned the portfolio company that kind of
houses a lot of these. The venture studio has its own team. So I've got a 5-person development team. I've got a 3-person research team, and then some other more managerial roles where it's a manager that is responsible for managing the content agency, content freelancers, link building partners, designers, the development team, but sort of have that central hub. And then for, bigger needs, bigger campaigns, I'll use, my marketing agency. Then I've got, other partnerships and other development agencies and automation agencies that I'll bring in when it makes sense. But my whole thing is I like to go find sources of traffic first. If I can build an audience or buy an audience, then I'll usually try to figure out how to monetize it. But I want to find the traffic first, as opposed to finding the product or the revenue opportunity. And then my sort of investment thesis is, if I could get something to $1 million a year in 12 months, then I'll ideally hire somebody or partner with somebody to run it, put it on the shelf, and go try to do it again. I don't really actively manage any of the companies that I'm a part of. I'm an in traffic think tank, a couple hours a week, but we have a team again there that runs the community and runs the content programming, and we've got a developer and a designer, and so that again it's all pretty self-sufficient. So my whole thing is, if I can stand up an additional stream of income that I can step out of and not have to actively manage. I don't want to pretend like it's passive. I don't think there really is quite a thing as passive revenue, passive income, but low effort income streams, I think, is what I'm after at this point.
Right on. And when you're looking at some of those like assets that you're looking to like buy or acquire, is traffic kind of the main specific metric? Obviously, like revenue, but like what stage are they kind of at typically?
Yeah, I mean, there really is sort of all over the place. Like the e-commerce company, which is just a really fun lesson in failure. I don't think I'll ever do physical product e-commerce again. COVID just put such a bad taste in my mouth. I mean, we ran out of our like 3 most popular SKUs for like 6 months, and it's just sort of a bloodbath. But that was a relatively mature business. Most of the other ones, I'll buy sort of in their infancy. So I'll buy when they're doing 15, maybe 20 grand a month. If it's a content site, lead gen site, affiliate site, that's sort of as big as I would want it to get. A handful of the other ones, I'll start from scratch. I've got an investment project right now with some partners where we're building a portfolio of directory sites, and we're trying to bring a new directory site online roughly it was supposed to be every 6 to 8 weeks. It's more like every 10 to 12 weeks. It definitely takes a lot longer to get a lot of the data cleaned up to a place where it's ready to be pushed out to a production server and get launched to be indexed and hopefully start ranking. But a lot of it's just getting these things out, getting them into the universe so they can sort of start to age, and we can see what's working and figure out where to double down versus where to cut losses. And so answer really is all over the place, I guess, from an asset development, asset building, construction sort of standpoint.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, and that's great advice. I mean, that's something I talk to as well, just to folks that I'm mentoring in the game where they want to either build a website to flip it or something. It's just like, get it out there and get some data and understand like what the market
get feedback, look at what's working,
Right.
One super valuable skill that I don't think enough people really invest enough time and energy into is just outreach. Like get like spin up a cold campaign, start your own outreach, whether you're pitching services, you're selling a product, you're trying to share content, like whatever the angle is that you're, reaching out cold to people, getting good at writing those emails, understanding the operations of warming up inboxes and keeping low spam scores and rotating domains and subject lines and first sentences and 1-sentence case studies, like all of the components that make for a successful skill that I feel like is transferable to almost any industry. And a big part of it's just learning to get comfortable with rejection. You know what I mean? It's a lot of people get really upset when they get 10 emails in a day telling them to go get fucked, and just learning to deal with that, I think, is that it's important for anybody building anything. Is just getting used to shit not working.
Totally. Yeah. I mean, folks don't really know, but that's how we kind of spun up the ranking stream, was just sending out requests to be like, hey, we have this thing.
fucking outbound works. Like, I don't care. Like,
It does.
fastest way to grow your SEO agency sure as shit isn't SEO. So like, get comfortable with the stuff that works, especially if it's industry agnostic.
Absolutely, man. Well, yeah, that brings us to the outreach side on like your product. I know you mentioned you've been working on something, and you said it's kind of outreach CRM kind of bundled in one.
So yeah, so it's funny because it's meant to support outreach, but it doesn't do any of the sending. I didn't,
Right.
I've had after Dave Schneider, most SEO folks in the SEO industry, if that name sounds familiar, he was one of the creators of Ninja Outreach. And he sold it. And after he sold it, he did like world map dartboard thing and landed on Philadelphia. And when he came to Philadelphia, we linked up and, became friends. And I got to hear a bunch of sort of the insights from him around what it was like running a business that had to manage mail servers and email compliance and all this other stuff. And it just sounded like a complete nightmare. And so a big part of, wanting to build sort of a database to manage link opportunities, outreach opportunities, and relationships really that come from doing outreach was very intentionally deciding like, we're not going to have any email sending functionality at all. Like instead we'll integrate with folks like Pitchbox and BuzzStream and Outreach.io and Close.io and Mixmax and HubSpot and all these other sending platforms that, can deal with that sort of technical debt and that infrastructure management. And we just want to do this one thing really well, which is like prospecting, providing a place to prospect opportunities, qualify opportunities, and then manage those opportunities ongoing. And that's really what the tools become.
So what are some of the challenges that you noticed what are some of the challenges of prospecting? I mean, I know there's certainly plenty, but what are some of the focus for?
Yeah. So, I mean, there's the really obvious ones for anybody who's ever tried to do it at scale, right? Which is figuring out what are the sort of the search operators, both positive and negative, search operators that are going to yield us the right kinds of sites that we want to pitch for whatever it is we're pitching. And then, there's building those lists and then having to pull in all the third-party metrics, right? So those might be ranking keywords from SEMrush or number of linking root domains or total number of backlinks or average DR from Ahrefs or the citation flow and trust flow or topical trust flow. Like what are the actual topical categories that this domain is relevant for and how topically relevant is it for this category from Majestic or, domain authority from Moz, having to prospect the domain type, content type, and then metric qualify. And then once you're metric qualified, manually have somebody go through a checklist to make sure it's not a PBN or just a resurrected expired domain, that there actually is some topical relevance there. The fact of the matter is, 90% of folks are doing this in Google Sheets. And Google Sheets are great until they're not. I mean, the API calls to all these third-party APIs, they are going to sort of shit the bed more often than you'd want them to, because it's really hard to sustainably pull third-party data into Google Sheets. You can do it, but I feel like it's not reliable, and you get a lot of false positives and a lot of errors, and then just having to maintain it, which is going back through and having to try to reset those calls and pray to God your sheet doesn't shit the bed, which it will all the time. And then just dealing with the limitations of being within, essentially a database tool that doesn't have a database, right? Because Sheets is a web app that doesn't have a database. So you're essentially trying to use a web app as a database. And, anybody who's ever done anything at scale in Sheets realizes that as soon as you get to 50,000 rows, it's practically unusable. And the other, major issues are, God forbid, you've got more than one person who's managing your outreach media lists or building your media list or trying to manage finding the opportunities within a specific industry or based on specific metrics or based on contact information. And you've got 2 or 3 people in the sheet and they're all filtering the same data. And one person has different data, filter parameters, and they filter it. And the other person loses the work that they're doing simultaneously. And these are just sort of the downfalls of trying to use these hosted tools, and there wasn't really an app built for this specific purpose, which is, we originally thought of and, conceptualized and built Linkfuel to just solve this problem specifically within, FTF. And it was one of those things that the more folks I talked to and the more businesses that I was spinning up that had outreach needs and had a need to build larger media lists and manage these media lists and the relationships and the cost and last contact data and metrics and shit. The more we do it, the more I realized that, there wasn't a real need outside of just my agency for something like this.
Gotcha. Yeah. And so as an agency, you saw obviously like the need for something like this. Are you also kind of targeting like internal marketing folks or freelancers who specialize in outreach?
It's even like we're calling it Link Fuel because it really was built to help on the link building side, whether you're an agency or a freelancer or in-house. But the fact of the matter is, if you're a PR agency and you're just trying to land links based on media placements and audience size, and you actually don't care about the link value at all, it still serves that need, in a big way, just sort of through an SEO lens. And I'd love to show it to you, if you guys are cool with that.
Yeah, definitely. Let's tee this up. Yeah.
I think I can share my screen here. We'll see if this works.
Yep.
Let's see here.
All right.
Can you see that?
Yep, it's up. We can see that.
So the way that this essentially is meant to work is, you come to the import tab, you import a list of domains. You can bring in other data if you want to, but you don't have to. It just requires a domain. Domain comes in, then you get, it goes into sort of your master list of sites here. And then once you're in here, you can filter, however you want to. So you can be like, only show me domains that have email addresses. And this is using the hunter.io API. Only show me sites that are, pending or that have been approved. You can then also do things like, what's the cost? Is there a DR, CF, TF, organic traffic, number of ranking keywords, backlinks, specific types of links. You can run these filters against this list. And so, like, for example, if we dive into like this opportunity here, we can see that, some of these metrics were last updated on, so we can, first of all, we can see the source, right? So this is coming from Ahrefs and DR. Number of backlinks is from Ahrefs. The CF is from Majestic. TF is from Majestic. Ranking keywords is from SEMrush. We can be like, all right, this number of backlinks from Ahrefs hasn't been updated since January 24th. Let's actually update that real quick. Cool. There we go. So the backlinks number has actually gone up. We can see sort of last updated here. We can add this to a list. If we want to build a media list, we can add additional contacts. We can go view the site itself if we want to see what this actually looks like. Traffic we're getting, is estimated from SEMrush. Here's we want to change the status. If there is an existing cost or placement fee, that would get stored here. We can see which lists this specific, domain and opportunity is already attached to. What are the email addresses, that we were able to find? This is all coming directly from Hunter. Again, this is all BYOD. So like you bring your own API key. So you grab your own API key for SEMrush or Ahrefs or Majestic or Hunter, Pitchbox. You can bring what you want, but you certainly don't have to. We can see here's all the ranking keywords. So we can get a really quick idea of like what's the volume that these keywords are like that this site's ranking for. So it's ranking for like chat roulette, which has search volume in the US of 40,000, but it's also ranking for like this NVIDIA term and Corsair term, and so like it actually is ranking for relevant keywords around tech. So if this, if I was creating stuff around tech, this might be a really good opportunity for me to target this for a link building or guest post placement or a sponsored post or a niche edit. And I can see, what is the TTF breakdown? This is all coming directly from Majestic. You can see how many on-topic domains there are, how many referring domains, and what are these categories. And then, you can do things like add specific notes in here. So this would be like, spoke with Wendy today and placement fee has updated to $75, something like this. You can make this back in. And now that note, is saved into this file. Here we can see notes, but then there's also a timestamp, so we can see what happens, over the lifetime of this. And it's really just meant to make this process of building a database of opportunities, that you manage over time and can build sort of media lists on the fly to make that much easier and much more sustainable.
No, yeah. I mean, that's super valuable. Like you said, I mean, Sheets isn't very sustainable. I mean, you could only do so much in there. I'm curious, just in your platform, would we have to like kind of upload our prospects? So if I had search operators,
you can bring as much data as you want. The only field that we require is domain. So like you could, if you're just scraping domains, or if you are buying, if you get those lists of brokers, right? It's like that we all get. Everybody who owns a website probably gets 10 emails a day. It's like, hey, here's my list of domains. And grabbing the one thing that I've liked to do, and I've been doing this for years now, having a VA do it for years, is responding to those people and being like, hey, this looks great. Send me your entire list. And being able to just upload all of those, and because they all come with what they say the metrics are, and it's all bogus, right? But being able to actually look at all of those and take them through your qualification process, where you'll metric qualify first, and then you'll be able to contact information, metric qualify, manually review, and then put into a queue to collect the contact information. The idea though is we just want to be that sort of prospect qualification, curation, like list building piece. And then being able to send that directly to one of the outreach tools. And then at least for things like Pitchbox, we've got two-way connections to those APIs. So if you're in Pitchbox and your folks are sending the campaigns and they're doing reply management, inbox management, negotiating placements, and they're leaving notes in Pitchbox, we can actually then pull that all back in to Linkbuildr, where we want to just be sort of the source of truth for like the relationships that you're building from outreach.
Yeah, I mean, it also seems I get those emails too all the time from those prospectors, and it seems like the databases are technically the same. I don't know if it's it's typically probably the same freelance group.
I've got let's see if I can find it.
Yeah, no, I was just gonna note too, just on that, like it would be helpful to kind of quote unquote clean that at scale, or review at scale, in terms of, I'm sure there are some like diamonds in the rough there, where it's like, hey, there might be a good link source that you may want to apply your attention to and all that good stuff, but it would be good to kind of filter that out.
It's funny because I've been keeping track of those, like for years, where we've got one master. Like this, one of the things that came about with this was we would always want to get those full lists back. And we upload them into a master sheet, and we wouldn't overwrite them. We would leave exactly who it was and what they were charging and the date that it was presented. And if you filter by the domain names, you can see sometimes lists of 25 domains, and you can see all the way down, like this person's charging $25 for a link on this domain, and this person's charging 45, 75, 105, 205, 250. You can see the entire chain of resellers all the way up. And then, we also just look for things like frequency. Like if a domain appears on that master list more than 2 times, we know like this is being pitched too many places. It's probably not a safe link. And so, we would search. And the problem with managing that list was it just got, I think the last time I looked at it, it was maybe 180,000 rows, and it's just unusable.
Yeah.
Because Sheets is not meant to deal with that much data.
No, it's not. Especially with the amount of data from different sources as well. I don't know if you're, pulling in API data.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly right.
Right. Well, I'm just happy somebody's like replying back to these folks, because I never reply back because I'm afraid it's like a phishing email or something. I'm just like, hell no, I'm not replying back to this person.
I just forwarded it to my VA, and she knows what to do.
That's amazing.
But ultimately, the big vision for this ultimately is some sort of marketplace where there's all of these qualified sites, and you can just sort of build lists as you need them. So you'd be able to come in and sort of a marketplace setting, be like, I need 100 contacts on DR 50 plus sites in the fashion industry that have minimum monthly organic traffic of 50,000 visits or more, and bam, here's your list. And then if you can bring those back and you can sell them, into it. And so big vision is a marketplace for link opportunities, pitching opportunities, but in the short run, it's definitely just meant to be like a data management solution for folks that are doing outreach.
Totally. Yeah. Typically the way I always thought about link building was like there were links for domain authority that would kind of share some of that, and then there were links for like actual like business links, like stuff like that can actually lead to referral traffic.
Audience value. Totally.
Right. Totally. And so like I would much rather go to a source where like that could help me find that sooner than rather than later, because I don't know, like some of our link building efforts are kind of focused on like, oh, this site's good to have, it's topically relevant in our somewhat of a similar niche, but there's no telling that that's going to provide a lot of value there. Some of them are just kind of way off base and maybe not even in the web of like links or that we actually want to target or attract. So it becomes more of like a thing where it's like a time suck, and it's super expensive, and you don't know if it's actually going to help or hurt your website in the long run. So I think this curation, this marketplace source is, I mean, I'd imagine like it would save a lot of time, just time and money in terms of just, the efforts that go into like finding good links,
What
depending
if you're
on what
doing
niche
link
you're actually.
building, as an agency, as an in-house
Yeah.
team, as if you're managing it as a freelancer,
Yeah.
it really, the economies of scale and the profitability really comes down from building that sort of database of relationships where you're not having to go
Right.
out and do fresh prospecting every time. You're like, I know that, for this client, these are the links that are going to move the needle. I already have relationships with these sites that have that audience that meet these metric qualifications. I know the prices. I know the turnaround time. Just managing those essentially like relationship databases. There's just haven't found a good solution to do that yet, other than like trying to shoehorn it into something like Salesforce or Zoho or another CRM. Like you can do it within the CRM, but then you miss out on those sort of third-party SEO metrics that do make a difference when you're trying to build and rank sites.
Right. Totally. Yeah. And you hit on this a little bit, but I wanted to just kind of explore this a little bit more. Like, how is the tool kind of, I know there's like maybe some overlap, but there's some unique properties in itself, how it's different from like Pitchbox or some of these other like outreach like platforms. Like, what are the kind of the separators there?
I mean, there's no, the sending piece really isn't there. It's meant to really just maintain, and like the way that we're pricing it, it's way down market. Like Pitchbox is fantastic. I mean, FTF's been Pitchbox clients for a customer for, I don't know, 6 years or 7 years or something. And while Pitchbox has a bunch of this functionality, it's not meant to just do this one thing. The reason that this has taken like an extra year of development was, we built it on top of Elasticsearch, but we built it on a single instance of Elasticsearch at first before we realized that it needed to be multi-tenant. And it needed to be built to be a search engine. I mean, it's effectively every user gets their own index, like search index, your own instance of Elasticsearch. And so you can chuck 100,000 row CSV at this thing and it'll process it in 20 seconds. And then you can query, millions of records in your individual database in seconds. And just the speed of being able to work with and manipulate data like this at that scale is just something that nobody else could do.
Yeah. Wow, that's amazing. And how did you go about like what stage is the product in? Are you looking for some early users, or you have customers, or
no? So I've got, thanks to Traffic Think Tank, I've got about 220 folks or so that are like, hey, please let me know as soon as I can pay for this. Very nice. We will have a free forever tier. So, upon launch, you'll be able to, create a free account that'll and store up to 1,000 domains in that account. They'll be free forever. One of the interesting things on the pricing front is, we want to maintain a public blacklist. So sites that, users have blacklisted, and if you're willing to share the disapproved sites publicly with us, then we won't count them as part of your quota. And so realistically, you could have 100,000 sites in there on the free tier, but if you're sharing 90,000 or 99,000 of them with us that are blacklisted, you can only keep the one, you can have that 1,000 free sites forever. And the idea there is just trying to provide like real value to the SEO community. The benefit there though too is just from a product-led acquisition. We're hoping that, in the true sense of outreach, we're going to let folks know if their site's been added to our blacklist, and here's the reasons why. And if you want to get out of blacklist jail, here's the steps that we would recommend you take.
Gotcha. That's super helpful. And yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to jumping on and providing some feedback and checking it out as well. I'm awesome. Super excited. I mean, we're in that phase right now too. So it's kind of a perfect timing to really jump in and evaluate some of the prospects that we've been kind of looking at, especially ones that have been a little questionable about. I'm like, this seems like a good source, but I mean, I just don't have the time to, and honestly, there's a lot of, to get all the tools and to pay for all of them at once, it's just kind of a headache, man. And it gets really expensive. So
there's the nice part about most of the APIs. I think Ahrefs is about to switch their API pricing in a really big way that is kind of sad, but for the most part, you can, to get the API keys for your account, a bunch of the providers, you don't have to pay them every month, right? It's you use the API credits, you pay for them when you use them, and so you don't have that monthly thing in terms of carry costs.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And so I don't know what Ahrefs is doing, but I know their prices have been going up in a pretty significant way.
Absurd way. Yeah. It's interesting. I think they're sort of, think they're turning off a bunch of folks, in their core customer base. I think a lot of people are having to take a hard look and be like, this is a great tool, but like it's just way too much money for this, and I can get pretty close to feature parity with other tools like SEMrush that are way more affordable.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, absolutely. I mean, it would help too also. I mean, what you're doing, like providing with Linkfuel to just give us the information that we need for that specific task. I know a lot of SEOs kind of do the same thing in terms of most SEOs are like tool agnostic. They use multiple tools. They have a specific task. They want a tool that actually just performs that, and maybe they'll come back later. But I mean, one like yours, I could see definitely being like an ongoing thing, because I mean, link building is kind of forever. Like I don't know when's a good time to stop kind of the outreach or the prospecting phase. I think it's always kind of evolving. You need to kind of get more and more links as things kind of evolve. So I don't know if there's ever a stopping point for link building, quite honestly.
I mean, definitely not in the more competitive niches, right? You're
right.
chasing the rabbit, trying to close those link gaps, and it's usually the big open hole, right? Because you can kill yourself with site performance, crawlability, click depth, information architecture, on-page optimization, and ultimately, if the link gap's too big between you and the top ranked competitors, you're probably not going to rank anyway.
That's so true. But Nick, let me post the app inside the chat here. Can you provide the URL?
So the marketing site is up at linkfuel.io, but yeah, the app is not launched just yet. But we're finalizing one. We're making one big update on the data mapping functionality. So we wrote our own data mapper, so folks can upload a CSV and it can have all sorts of junk and garbage data all over it. And we don't want that slowing anybody down.
Right on, man. Well, this is really helpful, man. Thank you for sharing this. And
no, man, thanks for letting me come on and present it. And anybody who watches this, I'd love feedback, even if it's hey, your tool's garbage because it doesn't do this and this, or it'd be really cool if it if I was able to use it for this thing. And I mean, I'm just I want to make the best product I can for folks doing outreach at scale, and so all feedback is very greatly encouraged and welcomed.
Right on. Well, thank you, man. Well, that looks pretty damn good to me. And I'm going to get in there and use it. And I definitely would love to provide some feedback and check it out. But anyone out there listening and who's doing outreach, this seems like, I mean, a huge leg up in terms of the outreach, in terms of consolidating some tools, prospecting, managing your prospects, make sure no links kind of fall through the cracks. I think this makes a lot of sense, especially in this market. One more question, if you don't mind.
Sure.
How is like kind of AI and everything going to change just kind of the tool's trajectory, if at all? Or do you see that at all?
It's funny. We just had the Traffic Think Tank live Q&A like right before this, and that was one of the very first questions that me, Matt, and Ian spoke about. And I think there's a couple different answers there in relatively short order. The first is I don't think we're going to see any real fundamental changes to SEO this year. I think as exciting as ChatGPT and the OpenAI framework is, I think that a lot of it is still very novel, and there's a lot of learning left to be done. With that said, I do think from like a sales operations, middle of funnel conversion assistance perspective, I think we will see some incredible leaps and bounds. Like I'm just thinking of having support. Like sales support and chatbots, sales enablement supported with AI, having things like libraries built around responding to comments that are left on blog posts or publisher posts. That's AI driven and trained on a specific corpus of information around the topic of a specific article. Hyper personalization within email outreach, and sort of not even just the first pitch email, but the ones in between the negotiating components. I think that's where people who get their hands dirty with AI and using it in those sort of middle layer pieces right now, I think we'll see huge dividends and big payoffs.
Right on. Well, man, it's going to be exciting, and I'm looking forward to just kind of seeing how this evolves. But I totally agree with you, like in terms of, I mean, all of those things, and the assistant side and personalization. I didn't think about the personalization thing in email. That's really interesting, but I could definitely see how that could be possible.
Yeah, I mean, that's where we're starting to test a little bit more and trying to figure out like where does this fit in and to what extent. But yeah, man, exciting times.
It is. Well, Nick, thank you, man. I appreciate it. And if folks want to reach out to you, where can they find you?
Twitter's probably the easiest, best, fastest way. My handle's right up here on the screen. It's just at Nick_Eubanks. If you do decide to follow me, I apologize in advance. I do rant on there quite a bit, mostly about people saying things like "do follow," but there are other ranting topics that come about.
Perfect, man. And I posted the link in the chat as well, everyone. It's linkfuel.io. Definitely
Awesome.
check that out. And thank you again, Nick, for coming on, man.
Thanks, man. Thanks for having me.
All right, see ya, man. Chat soon.
Thanks.